May I come in a minute, Daddy?
Oh, hello, honey. Of course you can come in. Why not?
Mother said you had to work awfully hard tonight.
Oh, she must have been joking.
She said that your story had to be ready for the magazine by tomorrow morning, and that you hadn't even started it yet. I just wanted to say good night, Daddy.
Well, don't you worry, darling. Daddy'll think of a story. All he needs is a great big hug and kiss from his little girl, and presto, the idea appears.
Daddy, couldn't you put me in your story this time? Write about a little princess that became lost in a forest and is rescued by a brave knight.
Well, now, darling, I don't know about the little lost princess, but right now, Daddy's thinking of a real story, and I'll put you in it. Yes, sir. I'll put you in it.
Please do. Will you promise?
That's a promise.
Good night, Daddy.
Good night, darling.
Well, Williams, what's your story?
The same as Mr. Gaylord was telling you, sir.
And the other car was there when you arrived?
Yes, sir. You see, I'd called for Miss Betty at the usual time and was waiting for her when the chauffeur of this other car comes up and says, "Howdy." He offers me a cigarette, which I took and lit, and then asks me for a small half-inch wrench. The last I remember was leaning over to get it out of the side pocket of the car. When I comes to, I'm over by the Riverview Golf Course, curled up in the back of the car.
In Mrs. Gaylord's car?
Yes, sir. You see, they must have transferred Miss Betty to the other car somewheres along the road.
Where did you find this letter?
On the front seat of the car, sir. I went home, and when I got there, I showed it to Mrs. Gaylord and told her what had happened. She telephoned right away to Mr. Gaylord and then sent me after him.
Mr. Gaylord, why did you think it necessary to comply with their demands?
Well, we could hardly do otherwise. As I just told you, I'm only Betty's uncle, but I think as much of her as her mother does.
You secured the money from your bank?
Yes, $40,000. 4 $10,000 bills. It was a large amount, so I had my brother-in-law go with me to get it.
And then?
Oh, then... Oh...
Well, as instructed in the letter, we went alone to the far side of the golf course. Had no difficulty at all in finding the crate as described. It contained 2 homing pigeons. Well, Mrs. Gaylord remained in the car, and I fastened the bills to the legs of the pigeons and released them. They headed approximately north and disappeared.
And Betty was to be returned to you 2 days later?
Yes, provided that Mrs. Gaylord made no effort to communicate with the police or otherwise interfere. Now, the time is up yesterday. We waited until this morning. As Betty wasn't returned, Mrs. Gaylord telephoned you.
Yes. 3 days after the child was abducted. The delay is a serious handicap. Well, we'll do our best. If anything develops, I'll let you know at once. Oh, Williams, I think I'm going to hold you for a while.
Thank you, Inspector. Come there.
Now, listen, have this sent to all precinct stations. Abducted. Betty Gaylord. Dark hair, bobbed. Brown eyes. 4 feet, 4 inches. Weight 60 pounds. Probably held somewhere in metropolitan area. Report all possible clues. Have all exits to city guarded. Have her sent immediately by tele-typewriter.
Yes, sir.
Probably held somewhere in metropolitan area. Report all possible clues. Watch all exits from city. Better have this alarm transmitted to all patrolmen at one spot.
Okay, Ed.
Any luck with Williams?
Well, maybe and maybe not. We found those matches in his pocket. He claimed they came from the fake chauffeur. He forgot to give them back to him.
Telephone number, eh? Harper. Find out the name and address of a party having a phone number Mayheim 32860. Yes, I'll hold the line. What do you think of this fellow Williams?
Oh, his story sounds all right to me. Now, those matches may not mean anything, and then again, on the other hand, they might mean a whole lot.
We'll soon find out. You know, I don't think that... Yes, Harper. Yes? Who? Dutch Gorman. 226 Oliver Street? Well, you put 2 men on him right away. I may want him brought in any minute. Dutch Gorman. Doesn't sound right to me, Kelly. It's too big a job for Gorman. Somebody else planned this.
I wouldn't be so sure, Chief. Gorman's a pretty wise bird.
Yeah. He may be a wise bird, but Bird. Why didn't I think of that before?
What is it, Chief?
Pigeons, man, pigeons. The same gang that operated on the continent 4 or 5 years ago. Here we are. Blackmail and abduction, 1925. Gang operated in London and Paris. Broke it up in 1927. Investigation by Inspector Wallace of Scotland Yard. Give me the transatlantic operator and hurry. That's where they slipped up, Kelly. Using those homing pigeons to collect their 40 grand. Hello, transatlantic operator? I want to speak to Inspector Wallace. Scotland Yard, London, England. This is Poplar 7, 7200. Inspector Joyce calling. Yes, I'll hold the line.
This is the transatlantic operator. On your call to Inspector Wallace in London, we are told that the inspector is in Sydney, Australia, and may be reached at the Victoria Hotel. Shall we try to locate him and connect you through to Australia?
Huh? Australia? Sure. Go as far as you like.
Say, Chief, I wonder if that's the same gang that pulled that Van Buren abduction out west coast. You remember that? That case was never solved.
Van Buren. Kelly, that's a good hunch. You get in touch with San Francisco right away. Get them to send us telephotographs of fingerprints and any other dope they have on the case. Now, if we can just reach Wallace... See, it's 6 o'clock tomorrow morning in Australia. I bet Wallace is still in bed.
Well, you'll be his alarm clock. I'll get in touch with San Francisco.
Right.
Yes, this is Inspector Wallace. New York calling? Put him out. Who? Joyce. Well, hello, old chap. It's great to hear your voice. Of course I was in bed. Pigeons? Yes, Helen Benson worked on that case for several months. No, old chap, she's not in London, I know. No, I believe she's on the Leviathan, somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic.
Benson? Calling Miss Benson? Miss Benson?
Boy,
Pardon me, there's a telephone call for you from New York.
thank you.
You're welcome.
You finish the game for me. All right. Oh, I'm having a splendid trip, Inspector Joyce. Oh, yes, I've worked with them about 3 months. Pigeons? Yes, they use pigeons. That must be the same one. We knew him as Big Dutch. He was the chief's right-hand man. Who, the chief? Brocardi. about 6 feet tall, light hair, smooth face. Why, certainly I'll help. I'd be glad to. Yes? Yes, I understand. What's his number? Nahheim 32860. All right, I'll call him right away.
Listen, I knew we could count on you. Goodbye. Bon voyage.
San Francisco says the fingerprints will be on the wire within an hour.
Good. Oh, I was just talking to Helen Benson. She's on the Leviathan out on the Atlantic. You know, Scotland Yard used her on that case. She joined up with that gang and worked with them for months under the name of Yvonne. She says one of the leaders of the gang was called Big Dutch, and her description of him fits Dutch Gorman. She thinks he's our man, but he wasn't the chief of the gang.
Well, who was the chief, did she say?
Yes, but I can't place him. He used the name Bacardi. But I'll get him, Kelly, and I'll get him through Dutch Gorman.
Through Gorman? How?
Well, if Gorman is mixed up in this, Bacardi's around someplace. Bacardi fell for Miss Benson. He fell for her so hard that he wanted to marry her. And if he thinks that she's in town, it's a cinch.
What do you mean, a cinch?
Miss Benson is going to call Gorman from the ship and tell him she's in town at the Palace Hotel and that she wants to see the chief. I'll have it handled like a local call, and Gorman will never know the difference.
I get you. We'll be on the reception committee at the hotel.
Hello? Who? Yvonne? Gee, kid, your voice is music. Just blew into town and right away call up Big Dutch. Yeah, that's great, kid. Who? The chief? Yeah, he's in town, sure. I can get in touch with him. Where are you at? Oh, the Palace Hotel. What's your number? I'll have him call you.
But, Dutch, I'm not at the hotel now. Ask him to drop in about 8 o'clock this evening, huh?
8 o'clock this evening? Don't worry, he'll be there.
Now, do you understand?
Yes? Yes, we're expecting you. Send him right up.
There, Randy. Now remember, you're supposed to be a French maid. Speak French.
How's this? Oui, monsieur.
Atta girl. You okay, Kelly?
Okay, Chief.
Bonsoir, monsieur. Entrez.
Bonsoir. S'il vous plaît.
Stick him up, big boy. Reach for the ceiling. No monkey business. All right, Moran. Frisk him.
Wait a minute, Moran. Well, Mr. Gaylord, this is quite a surprise.
Now, just a moment, you idiots. Inspector, just what's the meaning of this insulting conduct? Is it meant to be a practical joke?
Wait a minute. Maybe we have made a mistake. But I'm sure you can explain what brought you here.
Why, of course I can. I received a tip today from a woman named Yvonne, who had some valuable information about Betty. I arranged to meet her here and buy that information.
Well, looks as though we were both given a bad tip. I apologize, Mr. Gaylord. But before you go, won't you tell me some more about this telephone call that brought you here? Where did the...
Time enough for that in the morning. My hat, please, miss. I warn you, Inspector, I shall tell the commissioner the way you're conducting this case. You're getting absolutely nowhere.
Oh, but we are getting somewhere. Miss Roberts, give me that telephotograph. Look at this. The thumbprint of the Van Buren abductor out in San Francisco. A photograph just off the telephone wire. You know, I believe the Van Buren abductor and Betty's abductor are one and the same man.
Well, I'm not interested in your fool deductions.
Of course, if your thumbprint isn't the same as this one...
My thumbprint? Inspector, you're insulting. I'll remind you that I have some influence in this town. I could have you transferred. The idea. asking me for my thumbprint as if I were a common criminal.
Oh, I didn't ask for it, Mr. Gaylord. You very obligingly gave it to me when you handled this telephotograph. Kelly, dust this off and let's have a look at it. Of course, Mr. Gaylord. If your thumbprint is not the same...
They are the same, Chief. You're not leaving us. Stay where you are. Come on, frisk him.
Well, Mr. Gaylord, or I apologize. Bricati is the name, isn't it? Put the cuffs on him. Bricati, if anything has happened to that child...
Oh, she's safe enough. I wouldn't harm her. But don't you see, I know where she is, and you don't. And I'll return her if you drop all charges against me. Otherwise, try and find her.
That may not be so difficult. Kelly, where's those teletypewriter reports?
Right there in your desk, Chief.
Oh, yes. Bricati, what about 271 Margarita Street? Got you that time. Hey, Bricati? All right, Kelly. That's enough for a raid. Get your men in your cars. I'll meet you downtown.
Okay, Chief.
Gaylord, eh? That was pretty good, Bricati. You fooled us, posing as the brother-in-law, because Mrs. Gaylord's husband did have a brother who was reported missing during the war.
Well, she'd never seen him. When her husband died, I
You
felt-
stepped in and posed as the brother-in-law, with the dyed hair and that trick mustache, huh? Pretty smart, Bricati. You almost got away with it.
Yes, and I would have, too.
But Mrs. Gaylord telephoned us and spoiled your plans. Well, we'll have Betty home within an hour. Oh, about that $40,000. I believe you have a safe deposit box in the First National Bank. So you see, Bricati, you lose all around. All right, Wilson, take him outside.
Well, Joyce, if I had your luck...
Luck? Oh, no, Bricati. It was more than luck. You spent months planning this abduction, while in a few hours I collected enough dope to send you up for life. And I got it from all over the world. London, Australia, the Mid-Atlantic, San Francisco, and last but not least, right here at home. Here. Listen to this. Patrolman Stevens reports seeing little girl with dark bobbed hair at rear window 271 Margarita Street. Occupants foreigners, no children, await orders, signed Rosner. That was the clincher. The trouble with you crooks, Bricati, is you never realize that science is always one jump ahead of you.
I opened the button.
One button.
That's the idea. Right in, boys.
Come on, Moran. She's probably in there.
Come on, put the leggings on.
All right, get over here. Take care of her.
Are you a policeman?
Yes, honey, I'm a policeman. Now, don't be frightened. I'm going to take you home.
Bring her along.
How in the world did you ever find me?
Well, Betty, we'll save that story.
Did you write your story, Daddy?
Yes, darling. It's all finished.
And did you put me in it?
You're in it, sweetheart. It's all about you.
Am I a princess? Does the knight protect me when I'm in danger?
Yes, darling. You're a princess. And there's a knight. A modern knight, clad in black armor. Always ready to watch over every little princess.
Daddy, it's nice to be protected. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, darling.